Have you ever wondered why thousands of liters of fuel are stored inside the wings of massive passenger aircraft? At first glance, it might seem odd, given that the main fuselage offers plenty of space where storing fuel would seemingly be safer and more secure. So why did engineers choose the wings? In the world of aviation technology, no decision is made haphazardly. The design of every component involves countless calculations, tests, and precise scientific principles. Storing fuel in the wings is one such crucial engineering strategy. Many assume the reason is simply to save space or maintain balance. However, there are other significant reasons involved, reasons that not only enhance safety, but also improve flight efficiency. Let's explore why almost all large passenger aircraft store fuel in their wings and understand the underlying science. One might think the primary reason is space conservation, keeping the fuselage free for passengers, cargo, and essential equipment. Others might assume it simply utilizes the empty space naturally found within the wings. While these explanations aren't entirely wrong, they aren't fully accurate either. If space were the only concern, fuel could have been stored in the lower fuselage, the tail section, or separate tanks. Aviation engineers, however, view the matter differently. For them, the priority isn't just where the fuel can fit, but where its placement will have the least impact on the aircraft during flight. We are dealing with hundreds of liters of fuel, not just a few. The location of such significant weight directly affects the aircraft's balance, control, and fuel efficiency. This brings us to the concept of the aircraft's center of gravity, which is critical. If the center of gravity shifts too far forward, maintaining level flight requires excessive control input. Conversely, if it shifts too far aft toward the rear, the aircraft becomes unstable and reacts excessively to even minor changes. In both scenarios, fuel costs would rise, control would become difficult, and aircraft efficiency would decline. Consequently, engineers meticulously determine the weight of every major aircraft component, and fuel is one of the most significant sources of weight. However, a question arises. Passengers and equipment also possess weight, so why doesn't that pose a similar problem? The answer lies in a crucial difference between fuel and the other loads. Passengers maintain a relatively constant weight throughout the flight, whereas fuel is continuously consumed. This means the aircraft's weight and mass distribution are constantly shifting during flight. To address this, fuel is stored in a location where its depletion does not significantly alter the center of gravity. The ideal location is the wings. This is where lift is generated and where the aircraft's center of gravity is situated. As a result, even as fuel is gradually consumed from the wings, the aircraft's balance remains largely unaffected, ensuring stability, controllability, and fuel efficiency throughout the journey. Yet balance is not the only reason for storing fuel in the wings. The wings themselves offer an excellent location. Although they may appear thin from the outside, the interior is a complex structure comprising robust beams, ribs, and other structural elements that maintain the wing's integrity. There is also ample empty space within this framework. Why waste that space? If sufficient room exists inside the wing, there is no need to construct additional structures solely for fuel storage. Conversely, every inch of the aircraft's main fuselage is highly valuable as it houses passengers, luggage, and critical systems. Using that space for fuel would reduce passenger or cargo capacity. The wings present no such issue. Therefore, modern aircraft typically employ the wet wing design, where the internal structure of the wing itself serves as the fuel tank. There is, however, another important aspect to storing fuel inside the wings. When examining the forces acting on the wings during flight, one observes that lift, the force pulling the wing upward, acts across the entire span of the wing. the bulk of the aircraft's structural weight is concentrated in the center, exerting a downward force. This creates immense stress at the wing roots. Consequently, if there were no fuel inside the wings, that stress would intensify, causing the wings to bend significantly more. However, the fuel stored inside the wings acts as a counterweight. It exerts force against the lift generated, thereby reducing the stress placed on the wings. This minimizes wing bending and prevents long-term structural damage. In other words, fuel serves not only to power the engines, but also plays a crucial role in maintaining the aircraft's structural integrity. A prime example is the Boeing 737, one of the world's most popular passenger aircraft. It typically features 2 wing tanks and a central tank. For short and medium-haul flights, the wing tanks are usually sufficient. The central tank is utilized only when additional fuel is required. However, if the central tank contains fuel, it is consumed first. Engineers prefer to reduce the extra central weight as quickly as possible to revert the aircraft to a wing-based fuel configuration. Furthermore, these aircraft usually have a special fueling port beneath the wings. Fuel is pumped through this port first into the wing tanks, and then, if necessary, into the central tank. The required fuel quantity is pre-calculated based on the aircraft's weight, the flight path, and safety requirements. The fuel used in aircraft is neither petrol nor diesel. Instead, it is a specialized type of aviation kerosene capable of remaining liquid at extremely low temperatures and ensuring reliable engine operation at high altitudes. Additionally, modern aircraft fuel systems incorporate multiple pumps, redundant supply lines, and various safety technologies, allowing the system to continue operating safely even if a specific component fails. Yet situations occasionally arise where an aircraft must dump some of its fuel while airborne. This might seem odd, given that fuel is essential for keeping the plane in the air, so why would it need to be jettisoned? The reason lies in 2 critical weight limits: maximum takeoff weight and maximum landing weight. Generally, an aircraft cannot safely land at the same weight at which it takes off. Consider, for instance, a long-haul aircraft taking off with a full load of fuel. However, shortly after takeoff, the aircraft had to return to the airport due to a mechanical issue or an emergency. At that point, the plane still held a massive amount of fuel, potentially making its weight exceed the safe landing limit. Pilots generally face 2 options in such situations: either circle in the air to burn off fuel or, if the emergency is critical, jettison a specific amount of fuel. This is why some large passenger aircraft are equipped with a special fuel dump system. Through this mechanism, fuel is released externally via specialized nozzles located near the wings. Many might assume that this fuel falls directly to the ground, causing environmental damage, but that is not quite the case. Fuel dumping is typically performed at high altitudes. At such heights, the released fuel breaks down into microscopic particles due to strong air currents and rapidly evaporates, making it highly unlikely to reach the ground in liquid form. Even so, this is not a routine procedure. It is carried out under strict aviation authority regulations only in specific areas and under specific conditions to minimize environmental impact. This is where the most fascinating aspect of aviation technology comes to light. From the outside, we simply see a massive aircraft flying through the sky, yet countless invisible engineering decisions underpin that flight. Storing fuel within the wings, ensuring proper weight distribution, controlling the aircraft's center of gravity, and alleviating structural stress on the wings are all deeply interconnected processes. In other words, housing fuel in the wings is not merely a space-saving tactic. It simultaneously optimizes the aircraft's balance and structural integrity, creates more room for passengers and cargo, and enhances the overall safety and efficiency of the flight. That is why, to this day, The wings serve as the primary fuel tanks for almost all large passenger aircraft worldwide. While it may sound unusual at first, understanding the underlying science reveals it to be one of the most ingenious decisions in aviation engineering. Which of these reasons for storing fuel in the wings do you find most surprising? Maintaining balance, reducing stress on the wings, or creating more space for passengers and cargo? You can share your thoughts in the comment section. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a like. You might also want to subscribe to the channel. See you in the next episode. Thank you.